CSBK TV is where you're at, and you're watching the 2012 Mopar Canadian Superbike Championships. Right now we're under the Ruthless Racing tent, and we're talking with Darren James, who rides the number 29 bike, and John Cornwell, who's been helping out a lot with the bike setup and what have you. Let's chat with these guys just for a moment. Darren comes in and he says, in turn 2, the bike's bottoming out, it's pushing the front end and what have you. Well, I'm thinking to myself, you've got a lot of things to consider here. Tires, suspension, bike, the track itself, you've got to know when he says turn 2 what he's talking about. Yeah. Let's expand on that just a bit. The translation.
Well, normally what you have to do is you have to kind of get a baseline, so you actually work towards something during the course of a weekend or even prior weekend, so you understand exactly what he's talking about. We do have some indicators on the bikes that'll tell us, you know, that the front fork is in that area, and unfortunately these bikes don't have telemetry, but that's okay. You know, his word is good enough for me at this point. You kind of got to know the track, and you got to know the rider, and again, like you said, you got to know the bike. And by and large, because of my background, I have a pretty good understanding of the dynamic and the vehicle dynamic, as well as the rider's comments and how to relay them and how to get the answers that we need out of the rider in order to fix the problem. And there are standard questions that you can ask that will give you a direction and lead you to an answer. And the answers to those questions from the riders are usually very specific. Whereabouts in the corner? Is it on the brakes? Is it off the brakes? Okay, is it deep when you're on your knee, or is it when you're starting to pick the thing up? And each of those questions is designed to get the rider to focus and bring his attention down to a specific point so that you can actually narrow down the specific problem, because a general problem is one thing, but if you're trying to fix a problem, then you have to actually narrow it down to the actual specific area that you're trying to work with.
And then it'll go in, and then a couple times it did that in fourth again.
Hop up on there. I moved it.
But most definitely way more positive feel out of the clutch.
For me to get a chance to work with John with the knowledge and expertise that he brings in for a rider like me, as you're progressing along in your career, you need to find people who can help you, not only as a rider, but mentally say, okay, well, stop that and think about this. You don't need to have 10 things in your brain. Just pick one, and move on to the next. And for me, it's just been a huge boost of confidence, and confidence is a mental game is everything in this.
So have you worked with John before?
No, never. We started at the beginning of this year, did a little bit of stuff in the US. He's working down there with Larry Pegram, and I'm down there doing the AMA stuff. And I knew he was going to be working with Jordan up here in Canada this year, and I begged and pleaded, and you know, did a little waxing here and there, and yeah, so now we got John helping out myself and JR. It's making a big difference.
Where were you getting that sensation most?
Right. Which corners? Bottom of the hill, the fast right, the next right, the next left.
I find with riders is that when you start working with them, they come to you with this whole raft of issues that they have. And you're trying to get the feedback from Darren, like, whoa, 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 you know, wait, what's the biggest problem? So then you make them stop, and they think, okay, that's the biggest problem. Okay, let's fix that. So you make a change. He goes out, rides back, comes back. No, that's worse. Fine, we go the other way. Ah, yeah, that's better. But now, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes when you do that, and you make that change, the guy comes back and he says, hey man, this thing was happening. Oh, wait a second. What about the problem that we were supposed to fix? Oh yeah, that's gone. Right? And now, you know, like I said, that thing, to try to get them to understand that any change that you make is a little bit of a compromise. You're going to affect this part, but you want to fix that part. And then trying to get them, riders, to understand where is the most gain to be made. You know, making a real small change on something that's in a real slow corner, that means nothing. Because everybody goes through the slow corners and brakes at the same spot. But the fast corners, when you can hold it pinned and you can carry another gear higher than anybody else, that's where you make the gains. Everybody thinks that suspension is a black art. It's not. I mean, the suspension part of it is the filter that tells him that it's okay to go fast.
For me, that's everything. Is you know, picking a direction. I'm going in this as a blank slate. I will let you know what I know, but I'm here to learn. I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm here to learn from you. But as well as a rider, I'm out there before da da da, you know, you're twisting the wrist, trying to go faster, you know, tongue hanging out, whatever it may be. Now I'm out there actually thinking about everything I'm doing. What's the bike doing here? Where am I getting on the throttle? How does it feel? How's it reacting? Is it moving forward? Is it moving backwards? All these things that before I never had any way to translate them into communication to somebody who could fire it back at me with some, you know, some good information. And for me, that's the whole thing about being able to work with John, is that I've got a guy who's got way more experience than I do. So you have to humble yourself and take your big alpha dog attitude and put it aside and say, I want to learn. And I spent 2 years on a setup that I rode in England, and then I rode all last season in Canada, and then I started this year with. As soon as I started working with John, huge change. And it, like he said, for me it was tough. Those first couple of times out, why are we doing this? I know what I can do on that. Why are we doing this? And you know, and now my setup is 100% different than what I was riding 3 months ago. And I'm comfortable